see as SK Gaming takes a huge victory against Mad Lions, and I am joined by Jezu, the AD carry, who has still remained undefeated on affiliates. I'm Jezu, thank you so much for joining me. How are you feeling about that victory?
Thank you, Ashley. I'm feeling... it's a bit weird because I feel happy, obviously, because we won. We don't have that much of those, so of course I'm happy. But at the same time, I think I might have played the worst early game for my individuality. So this feels a bit bad, but I'm happy with the win anyway.
Okay, definitely congratulations and happy on the win. But what parts of your performance are you specifically regretting today right now?
The really early lane, like when I think the first death that we get on the gank is okay, but then when I die by Jinx on the trap, that's completely like mama, what am I doing? You know, it was completely grief. But then I came back in the game. I mean, my teammate helped a lot. Sjokz was really smurfing as well, so they gave me a way in. So that was good.
Yeah, Sjokz definitely had a pop-up moment today on Akali, and with that performance, he has won the player of the game. Can you run me through that last team fight, which did secure the victory for SK Gaming?
I think at that point we were quite ahead, so it was really hard for them. They needed to find a timer, or we will have mid-wave. So they need to fight before Nashor, and Sjokz like is just creating a lot of space. I have the 3 ult. I flash into the traps to make it a bit more spicy, you know. And yeah, then I just have to clean up after Sjokz did all the job.
Despite you also feeling that your performance could have been better, we can definitely testify the resilience of SK Gaming today, despite the enemy Jinx going 3-0 at the start. Can you tell me more about the team communication within the time when SK Gaming was falling behind in order to come back in this game today?
Well, the thing is that falling behind is our strength, right? We have a lot of training on this. Yeah. So we know how to hold on. Treats help a lot for this. We just remain calm. We know how to win. And I think we had the side laners, both Jenax and Akali, creating a lot of pressure for us in order to play. So we were never like really scared in this game. I think we were in control.
And perhaps that mindset can also carry on to SK Gaming for the rest of the LEC. So final question to you, Jezu. What does SK Gaming need to do in order to remain in contention for the playoffs?
I think what we need to do is keep on with... I think we're drafting kinda well, we're improving. We need to stop trolling the 5 early minutes because that's not helping to win. And then if we start to be a bit more consistent, we keep on playing what we like, then we can maybe go playoff. Okay. I hope.
I certainly do hope so too. Thank you so much for the interview, and I'll take it over to the analyst desk for Rogue versus Misfits pre-match.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you.
Oh, double thank you, Ashley. Jinx. Thank you so much. Great job by Jezu and by SK Gaming. What a well-needed win. On to our next match, though, and class is in session here at the analyst desk because today's topic is very simple. How do you beat Rogue? Misfits Gaming are on the school bench today. We actually wanted to do this segment, or Caedrel pitched it even before Rogue lost to Astralis yesterday, but it's gonna help, right? We did get a little bit of a blueprint from them, but aside from that, or maybe taking that into account, what would you say is the main thing you can attack on Rogue?
It's mid lane, mid lane, mid lane. And does that say that Larssen is a weak laner or a weak point for Rogue?
Maybe
no, I don't think. Maybe opposite, right? He's one of their strongest performers. He is the man who is basically carrying them across the line in terms of damage and all these things alongside comp. The problem is I feel like Larssen's been having a bit too free of a split when I look at his kind of match history. Yes, he's had some games into, you know, Akali's and things like this, but if you look at his last couple games, he's been playing against Sona mids, he's been playing against Victor mids, TFs, he's been having a happy lane phase on his Corki Victor that he's just been constantly picking every game. And Malrang seems to be getting Heralds out of it, right? 8-minute package, Herald, Herald mid, Larssen's unlocked on the map. That was kind of Rogue's formula for a lot of games and how they get the game going if Malrang doesn't find any early ganks. But it feels like once Larssen is ahead, it's very hard to shut him down past the lane phase.
He has a couple of issues maybe thrown his way because of one, of course, opponents know what to ban. Of course, you can't ban everything out, but some of the strongest picks. 2, Corki is still viable, but is maybe a bit less viable. You don't always want to pick it. And then he tried his hand at the new Ahri yesterday versus Astralis, and that also just didn't work out.
It didn't work out whatsoever. There was no pressure on the map whatsoever from the mid lane, and you could see Rogue were kind of faltering. Yes, they were able to cross map here and there, but they weren't able to get an early lead, and they weren't able to trade from ahead. And Larssen is one of our standout mid laners in the league, but if you look at his champion pool, it's a lot of mages. Similar to last year, where he would default to things like Azir, Orianna, Twisted Fate every now and then would be his champion pool, but I think you can see when it comes to playing things like Ahri or Assassins, or if he has to count big mid, or if he's left into bans on the 4-5, he does struggle a little bit if they focus mid.
It is a thorn in his side, though, because we know he also said it in the interview, but he's a little bit annoyed at the fact that people keep pegging him in these categories. But he is a mid laner that grew up when these mid laners were, grew up, like in terms of the professional sense, when these mid laners were so prevalent. So it's, I think, normal that he has a preference for them, but he can play a lot of things. I mean, that is clear. But can the team always adjust to those other plans?
Comfort is key in best of ones, and Rogue have always said that now that they're sitting pretty at 8 or 9 wins, whatever they were before the start of the week, they're happy to experiment now. Going into playoffs, they need more styles. Even Rogue last year, I remember I was talking to Bloomingen, one of their coaches last year, before they go into international tournaments. When they had such dominant regular seasons, they said, well, we want to try out different styles, and that's what they did. What their original style was, just winning lanes, get inspired ahead from farming, and then take the game from there after the first tower, right? But now they're playing a lot more team fight orientated. We saw that in the summer playoffs.
In the interview that I read with Freddie, with Tom Mathiessen, he was saying, well, hey, we usually do tend more towards playing for the mid lane or playing for the bot lane, and sometimes in draft, we end up playing for Odoamne, but that's never really intended. But I think they should maybe consider that a bit more as an avenue, maybe especially in this game, because Misfits shouldn't give Larssen an easy laning phase with Vetheo in the mid lane.
Yeah, Vetheo, if you look at his champion pool, it's like a stark contrast almost of what Larssen's been picking. He's been picking Akali, LeBlanc, Sylas, all of these kind of assassins. And yes, 1 to 6, you will naturally lose the lane phase. Yasuo as well, we saw against SK, I believe. You will lose the lane phase, you will get pushed in because you're playing a melee champ, but you have insanely high kill pressure. So as much as Larssen might early rotate a Victor or an Orianna and will be safe in mid, can Misfits shut him down, keep him under his tower, and allow Vetheo to be the one that unlocks the map for Misfits is the biggest question.
All right, so to summarize the first lesson, try and shut down Larssen, be it partly in picks and bans, but also in the way you attack that mid lane, or at least contain him. Secondly, of course, Astralis yesterday beat Rogue, as we said, and Zanzara and PGL said, to beat Malrang, you have to be Malrang, you have to follow him and just have to kill him because he's playing a very feast or famine style.
Which is a slight worry for Misfits, you could argue, because Shlatan is probably the one jungler in our league who doesn't gank too much. I think he has he's 10th in jungle proximity, he doesn't hover around his lanes much at all. He's more of a, I will use my pushing lanes to farm, similar to Rogue last year with Inspired, right? So to be Malrang, he might have to beat him this time around. Something like Lucian and Jarvan are much more like, you can't farm. You just physically can't do it, so you have to impact the lanes. I think he had a fantastic Lucian game in his previous ones, but I think tracking Malrang is going to be so important. Elioya said in the interview, we mentioned it yesterday, his playstyle is very inconsistent and hard to read, which is what I've noticed with a lot of Korean junglers who come to the league. When I played against Mowgli when he was on Vitality, he had a very similar playstyle where he would just do one camp and invade your buff, and you'd be like, guys, what's happening? And what would happen is your lanes would come to help, he would back off, your lanes would push, and then he'd come in again. And he would just do this ping-pong style, which I think Malrang's been doing fantastically, finding so many ganks that he shouldn't, so they need to track jungle and focus on Larssen.
All right, that is the lesson for today, to shut down Rogue. Let's see what happens. You heard it from Professor Caedrel, but will Misfits find the answer to the test and take a huge step towards the spring playoffs? Let's find out with Vedi.
With Vedi. A bit of an afterthought there from Sjokz, but thank you so much. Great analysis as well. Now,
you got any famous quotes for me?
Yeah, well, I haven't told you I was going to do this, but I actually have a tweet that I didn't tell production I was going to do either.
Really? Yeah.
But in the tweet you said, hey, Captain Flowers, I love you. And I took that personally.
I did say that.
Yeah.
I do love Captain
You've
Flowers.
never said you love me.
Well, it's more like we're a professional relationship,
colleagues.
you know what I mean?
It's colleagues, let's be
we're
honest.
you know, we're here to do a job, and our job is casting League of Legends. And that means dramatic, epic music as we get ready for our third game of the day. It will be Misfits versus Rogue. Can Misfits find the formula to take down Rogue? We're gonna find out.
You do actually love me, though, right? Let's jump on into the champion select. Now, I have been informed that the first 2 bans in this game won't show up until we get the first picks into the draft. On the blue side, Rogue have banned away Zeri and now the Jace alongside that. Misfits removed Victor and now the Caitlyn alongside that.
All right, so nothing too crazy. We've seen Zeri rising in priority very quickly over this weekend as teams get more familiar with the champion. What else could be removed off the board? We know that Shlatan is a very big and proficient Lee Sin player. They could choose to remove that. No, for now, they are going to remove the Diana. We did see Misfits bringing out the Diana Yasuo combo last week to great success, and I think it makes a lot of sense. The Twisted Fate going to be immediately answered by Misfits. So still, the Ryze is going to be up and available. Larssen, no hesitation, will look to grab that one immediately. For anyone that has followed Larssen's career, he is a very proficient Ryze player. Many consider him as one that doesn't often roam a lot, but you think back to the spring finals of last year, the one, you know, where Rogue got reverse swept. He was actually dominating on the Ryze in that final game, and we know that he can have very big impact on the map. So we'll see what he's able to do with it, as Vetheo will likely have some type of answer.
A big bounce back game for Larssen as well. After yesterday, he struggled so much on the Ahri against Astralis. We'll see how much impact he can have on that Ryze. Jinx Xin combination once again locked in. It's the Zinx, I guess. Well, because we have Jin Zhao, so
right,
we're seeing Jinx and Xin so often. I feel we need a name there as well.
True.
We could just call it Jinx.
We could. You could just do that. I think we'll call it the Jinx duo. Anyway, it doesn't really come as a surprise, as we've seen a lot of Xin priority. We heard Marcoon talking about how strong the champion is. And the Lulu answer as well into the Nami Lucian, so we will be seeing double enchanters. This could mean that we will be seeing some engage, some tanks up towards the top side of the map. We saw earlier in the Mad Lions game, when you don't have that engage, when you get to these later game fights, if you're not setting up on the objectives first, it becomes very difficult for you to get the fights on your terms. So we'll see what direction both these teams decide to go for. Of course, Shlatan still providing a little bit of an engage tool, given that he is running the Xin Zhao.
And with the Jarvan taken away, Misfits are removing another possible engaged champion from Rogue's pool. Malrang has been very comfortable on the Jarvan so far. And now we'll see where he decides to go. Of course, things like the Ornn for Odoamne in the top lane is a possibility. With the Syndra taken away, just shoring up that mid lane for Larssen a little bit here by Rogue.
Makes a lot of sense. We know that Vetheo is a very big Syndra player, and I was just about to mention that Volley Bear pick. We've been seeing it a lot from Malrang, both a very good early game champion, also offers great initiation tools, and also the ability to set up those dives works very well for Rogue in the early game, as we know how aggressive Malrang can be. So removing that away from him makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. The question is, what direction will he go now? We have seen things like Trundle be used as an answer, but we still got to see that final ban come out from Rogue.
With Vetheo having some strong performances recently, I wouldn't have been surprised if Rogue had decided to ban another mid laner. Instead, Gwen taken away.
Looking like an Ornn, isn't it?
It's looking a lot like an Ornn for Odoamne. Gives you exactly what you wanted, that engage potential from the top lane. Team that up with the tidal wave coming out from the Nami, and you actually have this incredible channel of just CC coming down in the middle of a team fight. Misfits here looking to get their mid laner and then allow HiRit that counter pick top. Corki still strong, although not as strong as he was on 12-2. Instead, Misfits decide Vetheo will be piloting Orianna.
I love that Neon highlighted all the different hovers of things like the Cassio, the Vel'Koz, the Orianna, the Corki. He was saying, I've got a plethora of champions. Which one do I want to go for? By going for the Orianna, you do have very powerful laning phase as an answer into the Ryze, and you also have the ability to offer a lot of damage come to these late game team fights when paired up with things like the Xin Zhao, a very easy ball delivery system. The double stacking shields with Lulu and Orianna sets up Misfits for a very strong late game team fighting comp. Rogue deciding to go for the Lee Sin means that they will have a little bit more early game power, a very powerful mid jungle roaming duo where they can look to try and attack the sides, and there is that Ornn that we discussed. So Rogue, very typical Rogue based on what we've seen so far this split. A lot of focus towards the bot side of the map by the Ornn playing more towards the weak side up in top lane. The question is, can Comp and Trymbi get ahead in the 2v2 against Neon and Mersa? It's going to be very important that they unlock Larssen, and we see similar to what Fnatic was able to do when Humanoid was on the Ryze. Pushing out that mid lane, roaming towards bots, setting up those dives, and shutting down the enemy bot lane is very much what I expect Rogue to be attempting to do in the early game. Whereas Misfits, they're looking to scale. We've been seeing this a lot from them recently. Their early games have not been the strongest, but their late game team fighting is what gets them a lot of their wins. While they often struggle against the top teams that can punish them in this early window, teams towards the bottom end can't out-team fight them. And this has been a consistent avenue with which Misfits have been able to find success. They did it yesterday. They're looking to do the same thing again today. The question is, will they get the fights that they want? Because Rogue is very good at controlling that early game.
And the issue, of course, is you're not playing up against one of the lower level teams. You're playing up against Rogue, and although they lost to Astralis yesterday, they are still 9-1. They still beat every single team in the league in the first round robin, and they'll look to continue to continue that trend coming into the second round robin. Lowest average game time in the league as well for Rogue. They are very good at closing games out quickly, so Misfits wanting to scale may bite them in the back. We'll see if it does as Misfits take on Rogue. Welcome to Summoner's Rift once again as we see Rogue making a beeline for the bottom lane as they look to set up in a bush and perhaps catch someone out. I was looking for another word that started with B there, but I couldn't quite find it because bambush doesn't really work, you know?
Bamboozle.
A bush where you ambush someone is a bambush?
No, that's just a bush.
Or it's just an ambush?
Or it's just an ambush. It's a... Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's one of those
I'm
days,
really
Vedi.
disappointed in you. That's what
I'm disappointed in you that it took you so long to get there, Vedi.
I feel like that you and Freak just have like a WhatsApp, you know, that you just share these little jokes with each other. Guys, if
I gave him my bad ones.
If you ever see Medic and Freak in the same room, they are insufferable.
Oh, Worlds 2017, one of the best experiences of my life.
Ever.
Man's Not Hot just come out.
Oh, it was so awful.
2
Anyway,
+ 2 is 4.
Anyway,
-1
stop
is 3
it.
to max.
Oh, anyway, let's talk about the game and let's talk about some of the early shenanigans that are going on here. Larssen going to be dropping that delayed ward to get a little bit of insight as Shlatan starts up towards the top side. Malrang going to be doing the same. We talked about how Malrang is likely going to be pathing towards bot and how Rogue's early game plan is very much likely going to be trying to enable Comp and Trymbi. And given his pathing, it does very much suggest that. Both bot laners right now are fighting for that early push, trading their HP in order to gain a little bit of control. Reminder that Rogue's bot lane do have that heal passively over time, so in extended trades, they should be able to come out on top. And you can see they do just barely have the push, but it is very back and forth between the two bot laners.
Summoner spell difference in the bottom lane as well as Neon has gone for the heal, where Comp has gone for the cleanse to try and avoid some of the CC later on in the game. Of course, polymorph very difficult to play around as well for this Lucian. And we actually see Malrang spotted out on a ward here, Vedius, on his movement down towards the bottom side. That ward on the Razor Beak, something we often see from mid laners when they think the enemy jungler has started topside, just to make sure that you can track him on his rotation through the jungle.
He's actually going to do the blue Gromp into res, which should give him that level 3. The question is, what's he going to look for after that? Is he going to path back up towards the top side? It does look like that is the direction that he is going in. What's really important to note is the reason why Vetheo could get that ward in was because as Larssen dropped that ward on the top side Raptors, it actually meant that he got to lane a little late, which means that Vetheo got that very early push off. The reason why Orianna can do so well into the Ryze is because you do have that slight range advantage, and you can just play around the minions to be able to avoid a lot of the damage. So it's very easy for Orianna to out-trade the Ryze during the laning phase to basically push him underneath his tower and bully him and basically make his life much harder. And that only progressively gets worse. Of course, as you get into side lanes later on, especially with things like a phase rush, the matchup can be a little bit more favorable for the Ryze, but in team fights, it can be very difficult for the Ryze to be able to approach. Now, Malrang, look at this pathing that we talked about, hovering around Vetheo, looking for a gank, Shlatan doing the same in bot.
Vetheo able to walk away, but the flash room prison from Larssen will lock Vetheo underneath the tower. He's able to escape, but Malrang still gets the kill. Will not fall as the bot lane dive continues. Comp falls, Mersa tanks the tower, so does Shlatan, and now Trymbi is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Could back away from this one, and it looks like that's exactly what he'll do. Vetheo died in the mid, and Comp died down towards the bottom side.
Wow, kills across the board. So Rogue, they want to be able to get Larssen ahead, shut down Vetheo, allow Larssen to start moving around the map. But with Misfits pathing, being around the bot side and with that stacked wave, they're able to attack comp early and running that cleanse. You don't have the additional bonuses that you'll get from the heal. Means that they can find themselves a quick early kill. Great trades from both sides. The question is, what is that going to result in? Because you can see now the big advantages that Neon's going to have in the bot lane.
Especially since Rogue wanted to play through their bot lane, or at least their draft implied that they wanted to play the bot side of the map. It's a big loss for them early on. No summoners on comp. Trymbi has his flash, but Neon and Mersa still have flashes of their own. Shlatan can look for a peak gank down towards this bottom side. And it's a very strong start for the Misfits bot side of the map. Of course, Vetheo did die in the mid lane, having to burn his flash as well, but Larssen burnt both his summoners to get that kill.
Certainly did. Comp needs to be careful here. 2v1, being locked down.
He's just going to get zapped and slowed, and there's nowhere to go for comp. Neon needs one more auto. Mersa picks a helping hand there, takes the kill. Obviously, you'd want that on Jinx, but this is another wave lost for comp.
Yeah, that is a big misplay. We saw Trymbi roaming up towards mid lane. That first base, you'll often see the supports roam mid. Comp may have assumed the same thing, but the moment he saw 2v1, he got chased down. The slow was landed by Mersa. They get themselves another kill, and one of the big win conditions that we talked about, enabling this bot side of the map for Rogue. Misfits is doing a great job of controlling in this early game. 1K is the gold lead already. Great stuff from Misfits and their bot lane, 2v2.
And really not what you expect when you look at a Rogue early game. Usually they're the team getting the early advantages. They're the team with positive kill-death ratios at the 14-minute mark. And of course, things can still change. We're only 5.5 minutes into the game, but it's not often you see this Rogue bottom lane so shut down early on.
It's very true. Typically, Rogue is very consistent in the early game. And obviously, a team that wins a lot will have very positive stats. But the reason why they're able to win so often is because of how much they control how much control they have in the early game, and that already is being challenged. So of course there is still a lot of time for Rogue to be able to turn this around. When you are running that Lucian Nami lane, you really want to be winning out on those 2v2s, which for the time being they are falling short of. Now Malrang is hovering this bot lane. He will be able to sneak into this brush, but look at Shlatan. He's in the vicinity to cover as well.
It's all about reading the map in this sort of situation. Shlatan knows that his bot lane could be jumped on. Doesn't actually have to gank here. Just needs to provide that little bit of safety for his teammates.
I just noticed as well, Malrang actually running the blue smite here. A little unconventional for Lee Sins that very often will run that red smite because it offers a little bit more power in terms of the dueling, but I suppose the blue smite will make it a little bit easier in terms of ganks. Oh, Malrang just hits 5. He missed the Q.
Jump on the Mersa. Mersa flashed away, and as you say, Malrang put the Q behind the Lulu. And that Q is going to give you nothing. Meanwhile, Shlatan has been starting up this Drake, a Hex Tech on the menu for Misfits. And once again, Malrang takes a lot of time to try and get a gank and doesn't get anything out of it.
Let's think about what Malrang just did. He sat in that brush for, what, a minute? He got level 5 off the back of it, which took a lot of XP away from the Rogue bot lane. He wasn't able to find a kill, and while he did get the flash away from Mersa, off the back of it, Shlatan got themselves the Drake. He's going to set himself the Crab. He's going to get an earlier base off.
I'm just looking to go in here. Polymorph does come out. Mersa, though, just ignited and can't get away from Trymbi. Counter Ignite has been used. Neon, not yet level 6. The Super Mega Death Rocket was an option, but not quite there yet.
Okay, so Malrang's just typing #worth in the old chat, I guess, because the fact that Mersa lost his flash meant that Rogue was able to find themselves a 2v2 kill in the bot lane. Suddenly, they're looking right back in this lane off the back of that single kill, and while it did cost Malrang a lot, it's going to give a lot more control to Comp and Trymbi in the 2 versus 2. Wow, a very chaotic bot lane. Meanwhile, top lane is this. This is top lane.
That's kind of what we expect. However, a lane we haven't talked about too much is that mid lane matchup. Larssen up against Vetheo. Larssen is having an incredible performance so far this year in the LEC. Of course, yesterday, a bit of an aberration going 1-4 on that RE, but he has been consistent. His laning has been very strong. He's been getting CS leads and being able to influence the map. You can see second in kill participation for his team. Vetheo, on the other hand, has been doing exactly the same things, just perhaps half a step behind, as we see Larssen going for one of these roams, gets the root, and there's nowhere for Neon to go. You can flash under your tower, but Larssen will gobble you up.
And this is exactly what I was expecting Rogue to do. We knew that primarily by playing through mid and getting Vetheo to burn that TP early, it opened up Larssen to be able to get earlier pushes and then look for these roams. And the fact that they were able to stabilize bot just a little bit meant that he could now make this play Neon is going to lose another wave, and all of a sudden, Rogue have reclaimed a lot more control over the early laning phase. Trymbi did rotate up to try and hold the wave. Oh, and the ult going to be there just to interrupt the back, potentially looking for a kill, but his primary purpose there was to just be a nuisance for Larssen.
Making sure that you can stop the enemy mid laner back in just makes it a lot easier for Vetheo in that mid lane. Of course, it was a cross-map play by Misfits as that dive happened on the bot side. Shlatan was up towards the top side, taking the Rift Herald. So now that's both those key neutral objectives in the early game secured by Misfits. And although things have balanced out a little bit on the bottom side of the map, there is still a lead for Neon. And if you want to invest in him, you can put that Rift Herald down in the bottom side and get him some more gold. He's already got 1 plate. Let's see if we can make it 5.
Certainly could. Neon has a pushed wave in bot. Vetheo could push in another wave here in mid, and they could look to contest that red, but for now, they decide not to overcommit, and they'll just take the crab in exchange. Wow, a pretty crazy early game from both sides. I've been really impressed with Misfits, because obviously one of the big criticisms that we had of this team was that their early game wasn't the most proactive. While Shlatan does gank every now and then, his main prerogative in the early game is not to try and enable and play around his lanes, but exactly as Caedrel and Sjokz were talking about on the analyst desk, it feels like that he was tracking Malrang and trying to keep control. It's HiRit now looking for a duel.
Yeah, Larssen was spotted here. HiRit's going to go in with the Hexagon Ultimatum, but here is Malrang, and HiRit's going to go back to the fountain. Malrang's on the chase here. Dragon's Rage kick was used. Shockwave flashed away from, and with the Super Mega Death Rocket coming in, it looks like Shlatan might want to invest a little bit more into this fight. Crescent Guard away. Mersa walking forward, hits him with a final auto. And that is enough for the kill. Larssen and Trymbi will try and defend their tower in the mid lane.
Wow, okay, so HiRit with the
Ornn.
collapse.
Is he going to call the Forge Guard?
He's looking for
Rage. He's raging. It hits onto Shlatan with Trymbi here. That's going to be ebb and flow for the slow. Flash away from Shlatan. Avoids the Aqua Prison.
Still, Misfits, they found themselves the kill. I think the biggest thing there was that they were looking for that mid tower, but they weren't quite able to secure it. The reason why HiRit made that roam down from top down into mid was so that they could threaten a dive and then look to leverage the Herald. You can see Shlatan on your minimap in a position. The bot lane is roaming up as well. HiRit finds Larssen and he thinks, hey, I can actually get a kill here. Lo and behold, there's the Lee Sin. He just ends up kicking him in the face, and that was a lot of time. And this is where Malrang makes a big mistake. He overcommits. He doesn't realize that the collapse is coming through. He sees Shlatan and he knows, if I stay on this, I'm going to die. But he's already lost his flash. The ward is there, primed and ready, set up earlier by HiRit, which meant that Shlatan can find that W, land the engage, and then a nice little sidestep there from Mersa to avoid being collapsed on. Now, of course, the downside for Misfits is they weren't able to secure that mid lane tower off the back of the Herald, but still securing themselves a 1-for-1 trade in terms of kill, putting a little bit more pressure onto Larssen. And have a look at this. Vetheo actually ahead in levels, ahead in farm, working towards that first major item. And even though he doesn't have any kills yet, this Orianna is continuing to scale. And that is the main priority of this Misfits composition, to be able to scale, to be able to teamfight later on into the game.
Let's see if Vetheo actually gets gold from this Herald charging in. It may only be no one.
Okay.
Because it was just poorly positioned.
Yeah, they just threw that one down. They didn't think that Rogue would be able to respond, but the one thing you can say about Trymbi and Malrang is they're always going to be together.
Yeah.
And they are able to usurp that Herald from taking down that tower. Are they going to try that? No, they're not going to try that steal. I think that's the sensible approach. If you look at your minimap, you can see Larssen is nowhere in the vicinity. He's actually looking for a pick onto HiRit. HiRit very wisely recognize it, and it's just the classic cross-map play. Very good awareness from both teams there. Misfits come out with another Drake.
And gold's still pretty even between these two rivals right now. HiRit noticing that Larssen is in the mid lane. Doesn't actually know where Malrang is right now, which is why he's being just that little bit more cautious. But Malrang, once again, looking to get this Lucian back in the game. He's 20 CS down right now. Malrang with the chase. Sonic Wave connects, but a good wild growth there for Mersa to interrupt the Lee Sin in the middle of the call of the queue.
Very nicely done. Very nicely done. And people say supports don't have mechanics. I thought that was cool.
I mean, there's a big debate right now. Okay, firstly, who on earth says supports don't have mechanics? Come on. Secondly, there's a big debate as to whether high-level enchanters are harder to play than high-level engage supports.
Ooh,
I'm not going to get into it, but obviously as a Rakan main, I'm straddling the fence because I'm both an enchanter and an engager.
You know,
high-level is debatable.
The problem is the... Oh, hang on. All in here from HiRit.
Oda should just be able to walk this one out. He's already got the Bramble Vest and the Balmy Cinder and the Cloth Armor. He's pretty tanky.
So the problem with the Enchanter versus melee support debate is the melee support tour is going to go, well, you guys have Yuumi, so what's your counter argument? You know what I mean? So
it's
I feel
the skill ceiling, skill floor thing, because I think Enchanters can be very difficult to play.
Oh, they can.
But you can also play them very simply, which is stand behind your AD carry and pressure shield every
Also
now and
very
again, which is
true.
a targeted ability unlike a hook.
Very true.
Although I have seen Hillisang play, and often his hook seems to be a targeted ability.
It does often feel like that. Now, in terms of our supports this game, they both have a very favorable scoreline compared to their AD carries, right? Often highlighting the AD carries are the problem. Am I right, Medic?
100%.
But we know that they're both going to be very integral to their team's success, as Comp is struggling a little bit in this early game. He's still doing his best to keep up in farm. Can we have a quick look at the gold observers, see how close he is to that next? I think he's still a little short, if my math is correct. And Mersa's just going to be super annoying. Whereas Neon has now fully completed that Gale Force. Let's have a look, and if he goes back. My AD carry itemization gold.
With the steel caps, I don't think he'll be able to complete it. Yeah, there's the quick cloak. So, I mean, Gale Force is great for Neon here, of course. Comp just trying to survive that lane for the moment. Realm Warp in by Larssen, but unable to get anything out of Vetheo. And with
Again, it's that duo, that Malrang Trymbi duo. It's so obnoxious as a mid laner to deal with it, but Vetheo doing a great job of soaking the pressure. He fell prey to it in the early game, but since then he's been able to successfully avoid all gank attempts.
Shlatan doing a really good job of actually getting ahead in farm and having an equal impact on the map as well. You know, 1-0-1, the Rift Herald was not the best, and so that first neutral objective that they secured doesn't really pay off too much, but now Comp in a very difficult position. Larssen's coming across. TP available for no one on Misfits, going to make it very difficult for them to keep trading onto this. Shlatan might look for Larssen, pushes him away with the wind becomes lightning, but the chase is on. There's the Rune Prison, Call of the Forge God coming down as well. Crescent Guard knocked up, Comp dives into the middle of it, and even with the super mega death rocket to join the party, Larssen is able to secure the kill.
Comp did end up burning his flash off the back of that small skirmish, but it does mean that Rogue get themselves a kill. Meanwhile, Vetheo elsewhere on the map, pushing in mid, HiRit pushing in top, and as you rightly identified, no TPs anywhere on the side of Rogue either, which means that they shouldn't be able to stop this. Malrang's going to do what he can to try and slow the push from HiRit, and Neon and Mersa with this wave clear. I think they can stop this tower from going down.
Especially with the Call of the Forge God already being down. Odoamne doesn't really have the same dive threat. And Comp, well, you've overstepped, you've got no flash, he's trying to trade back onto it. Neon dodges! Neon takes him out! That was just greed from Comp and beauty from Neon.
Flawlessly played from Misfits AD carry there. Is able to get the outplay onto Comp. Has had the better of him so far in this game. And while Rogue will be able to get themselves the tower, Neon can walk away saying AD carry diff for sure.
Played that incredibly well, especially considering, you know, Wild Growth was down, Heal was down, well, he used the flash to try and get out of it, but didn't have to use it proactively. HiRit, though, with a lot of free time in this top lane, takes the second tower of the game for Misfits, and we'll have another look at this play in the bottom lane, because remember, Comp does not have flash.
Yeah, that was not a good E. That was not a good E at all. But credit to Neon, the fact that he saw that, he immediately threw the traps down, knew that I'm going to cut off your escape route. Mersa is right behind me. I know that I can commit to this play, and is able to get the kill and escape as well. Beautiful stuff from Neon. And that means that for now, Misfits will lead in terms of the gold. The next dragon is about to spawn. We can see that both teams contesting that mid wave. Shlatan, though,
Maybe a little bit overextended. Does still have the flash and the ultimate.
He's taunting them, Medic. He is emoting in their face right now. He's saying, go on, I dare you to engage on me.
Well, here comes the TP. HiRit's going to join this party. Where we in terms of flashes, AD carries don't have them. Rest of the team do. Odoamne has the Call of the Forge God too, as HiRit steps straight into Larssen. He's rooted, he's kicked, and he is demolished in a second. Call of the Forge God comes out. Realm Warp behind now as they look for Neon. He's got a heal, he's got a Gale Force, he's going to try and get out of this one. Malrang pops the stopwatch immediately onto the Chompers, and the jungler is almost down, but Malrang able to survive. Tidal Wave coming out, Crescent Guard used as well. The Shockwave flashed away by Odoamne as Misfits now all hail the retreat. They will walk back towards the bottom lane, but Neon wants to step forward once again. Larssen so tanky. Comp now. Gale forcing forward. Vetheo takes out Malrang on the back line. Neon continues to dance on the edge of death.
Mersa still has the ultimate available, and as long as Shlatan is alive, Misfits have a way to engage fights. But Odoamne, with the TP available, wants to go back to base and rejoin the fray. HiRit is on the way as well. I feel that Rogue need to disengage from this.
You have to feel it because there's no Call of the Forge God and you got no jungler for 13 seconds. Rogue will give it up. TP, base recall coming in from Trymbi. Third dragon of the game now secured by Misfits, and they fought that in a 4v5. HiRit was not there for the entire fight because he was back mulling his decisions in the fountain.
I feel like that it was a comedy of errors on both sides, really. We saw that initial face check from HiRit when he was primarily trying to cover the flank or look for a flank of his own as Larssen sees the bot lane backing, will pop the ghost, won't get anything off the back of it. But you can see that HiRit face checks this brush, immediately gets one shot. That then sets up for the follow-up engage. But this round warp right here just put Larssen and Malrang right in the middle of the team. The trap's beautifully placed. He has to use his stopwatch to buy time. Now they're forced to disengage. And look, Larssen can't do any damage because of the minion wave. Then Zhao blocks so much of the damage with his ultimate. And then Misfits can just play this front-to-back comp. Rogue then feel like they can go for the re-engage. And then you see the snipe come out from over the wall from Misfits, resulting in a one-team fight, especially with the jungler gone. So I think Rogue just hard overcommitted in this exchange, and Misfits were the big benefactors off the back of it.
And Neon continues to look impressive this weekend and across the course of the last couple of weeks. 9-2-7 on Jinx yesterday. Now, even though his scoreline is not the most explosive, he has had some very strong plays in this bottom lane. After coming up from Schalke Evolution, I think a few people wondered whether this year would be indicative, well, whether his previous years in the LEC would be indicative of this year's performance, and it definitely looks like he's stepped it up a notch.
Certainly has. I think that Neon was obviously a very contentious player, but I think that his Jinx performances have been very good. I mean, just yesterday, you only have to look back to see his incredible performance on that, and he's a large part of what makes the Misfits late-game team fighting so strong. And in the position that they have, the goal lead that they have, the expectations are that they're in a great position looking forward, as long as they don't get caught out before these fights. Rogue, they want to try and leverage playing through these side lanes, but the problem with their comp is that it's inherently relatively short range. You have a Ryze and you have a Lucian that kind of want to close that gap a little bit more, but closing that gap against a Jinx, an Orianna, that is just so much harder because there's so much that you have to get past. Meanwhile, you've got this Camille on a potential flank as well, creating all of these problems. So Rogue, they're going to have to get creative. They're going to have to look for these picks, as Vetheo now, with 2 major items done, is going to start hitting hard.
Nice to see Larssen with those 2 items. Seraph second on the Ryze here. We've seen a lot of Fimbulwinter. We've seen some Frozen Heart. Seraph, of course, works well with Ryze because 35% of the mana you spend, you get back as healing. And Ryze loves to spend his mana. He loves to see that blue bar ticking, ticking, ticking down throughout the course of a fight because that's how he gets out his machine gun load of spells. However, it does make Larssen just a little bit squishier compared to something like the Fimbulwinter build. So if he oversteps, he can be caught out and shut down by Misfits.
Certainly can. And again, that range is going to be something that he has to be careful of. Even in a side lane, perhaps right now he's stronger than HiRit, but I do wonder how long that will last. With that top lane still there as well, it's hard for him to really create much pressure. Odo will always be the safe option in a side lane, but he's never going to generate any kill threat or any real pressure up against the Camille. The good news for Rogue is that Misfits don't really want to play a 1-3-1 style. They want to make sure that they stay grouped. Hang on, what am I talking about? Rogue, Rogue, if they can, they want to try and force Vetheo to try and catch someone off in a side lane. The more that they can split up this team fight comp, the better position that they're going to end up being in. So you can see now, Vetheo moving up towards the top side to try and answer and match Larssen. This is the best case scenario for Rogue, where they can potentially look for a pick or catch him in the rotation as he looks to try and regroup with his team. And you can see Malrang hovering around Trymbi again, that jungle support duo that we've talked a lot about this game. They're constantly looking for those picks, waiting for Vetheo to overstep, but I really want to highlight all this vision that Misfits have in their own side of the jungle. All of these wards just littered to make sure that Rogue isn't doing anything sneaky, or that they can potentially come back, potentially set up for a dive underneath this tower. Misfits, they're playing the patient game. They know their win conditions. They know exactly how to beat Rogue in this game, and they're not giving Rogue any windows to turn the game back in their favor.
Misfits also playing for their first 2-0 week in spring. So far, they went 2-1, 1-1, 1-1, and now, against Rogue, the team perhaps most surprised, the most surprising team for them to pick that win up against. It would be a great victory for them. It would rocket them towards the top of the standings. And with these teams coming up as well, a win here actually really sets them up for a good run to make it into playoffs. XL, Mad, G2, and Vitality. It's not an easy road, but if Misfits can continue their winning ways, they really put themselves at least into playoffs, if not the top 4, Vedi.
They certainly do. I think Misfits have looked very solid so far. This split, being able to take down Rogue would be a massive achievement for them. Now, it is their sole point. They're setting up for it. Once again, Malrang looking for the flank. HiRit wants to get information. Will drop the control ward this time. Will not go for the face check, so we will end up having that front to back.
So importantly, in terms of items, Larssen's stopwatch is on cooldown right now. He is at 3 items on this Ryze, though. 2 items complete on Neon. That rapid-fire cannon only builds on the range advantage that you already said Misfits have. We'll see what Odoamne can do in this fight, because the Call of the Forge God could be make or break here for Rogue. Shlatan stepping forward, the Cullen coming out, Neon able to dodge away from it. Shlatan, though, takes about half his health bar, and now is separated from the team. Call of the Forge God only onto Mersa, he's still got the wild growth. Malrang dives into the pit. Rogue now on the back foot, Misfits stepping forward, and once again, Misfits will be the team to begin to retreat.
But look at how hard it is for Comp and Larssen to actually approach this Comp. That ball is just so threatening, and it's something that Rogue have to play around. Shlatan, though, gets lower.
Tidal wave, Shlatan needs the crescent guard, gets the wild growth. Dragon reset, Shlatan forced away. Neon low on mana, that means he's not going to be able to get so many rockets off in this fight, but Shlatan can still look for the engage. Malrang on it, the shockwave hits onto 2, but the blue team will secure it. It's Rogue who take the Dragon. Neon's going to start popping off though, and you can see the healing coming up. Oh, not quite the Penta there, but Neon, he manages to get 2-1 on top of it for Vetheo.
Neon saw it. I know for a fact that he saw a Penta in his eyes, and he could clean up that fight, but Larssen is able to save the remaining Rogue members as they walk away with a Drake. An incredibly tense team fight, but Larssen has the flash. He's looking for Neon.
Mersa's going to retreat here as well. Neon has flash. Larssen catches the wave. Neon's got to flash early, got to flash quick, otherwise you're not going to get away. Flame Chompers, he flashes onto them, Neon! Perfect positioning. It was a blind flash from Larssen, and he just didn't expect the Chompers to gobble him up.
He angled the Chompers in a way that made it so hard as well. Beautiful stuff from Neon, but let's look back at this fight. So it was a drawn-out skirmish. So many ultimates were thrown, but Rogue saw their window when Shlatan got very low. The ultimate from Mersa buying enough time for Shlatan to disengage, and then we see the re-engage from this shockwave landing onto 2. Isn't quite able to connect onto the carries. He sees it onto Comp. He's able to sidestep. And then we see the fight kind of split up into 2 parts. The secure ends up coming through from Comp. The support and the top lane ends up dying, but the key crucial carries of Misfits end up staying alive. And as a result of that, Rogue is forced to retreat. An incredibly scrappy fight, largely because, again, it really highlights how difficult it is for Rogue to force a fight, but also Misfits is very reliant on Shlatan being that primary engage tool. And if they then just dive into Larssen and Comp, they're making it easier for them to turn the fight in their favor. So Misfits are trying to leverage their range, their poke. Rogue is trying to find that perfect initiation, and that's why you end up having that extremely extended dance between the 2 teams.
I hope you got your binoculars out, Vedi, because we're both ornithologists right now. Ornn upgrades have started to be picked up here for Rogue. The Gale Force upgraded on Comp. Next up, you have to expect it will be the Ever Frost for Ryze in the mid lane.
The Frostier Frost.
The Frostier Frost. Let's see. HiRit set up in a good position here. Has the Hextech ultimatum. If Comp oversteps, there's the zap. HiRit might just go for this immediately. Flashes forward. Comp locked up, but HiRit now on the backline. Pops a stopwatch, and Misfits can't get close enough to do anything, but still Comp dies. That was basically a 1v1 between HiRit and Comp, and HiRit comes out the victor. 1-for-1 traded. Misfits, though, able to take out the enemy AD carry. Is that enough for them to start the Baron?
Ooh, I think it's still risky for Misfits to just threaten the Baron right now. They need to get control over these waves. Malrang is looking for a
Neon doesn't have flash.
flank. As you rightly said, this could be big for Malrang.
But Shlatan's looking for the flank as well. Both junglers in good position. Will Larssen die before Malrang can get there? Malrang's on his way. Larssen with a stopwatch is still shut down, and Malrang too late to the party, my friend. The drinks are gone, the appetizers have been served, and you are too late to join this Barney. Odoamne forced away from the tower. Malrang once again trying to come in. The Bellows breath from Odo stops him from being knocked up, and he will be able to escape back to his base.
And just like that, Misfits wipe Rogue off the map. Now they're in a position to go for the Baron. Vetheo just adding insult to injury as he chips away at the front line for Rogue. But they have the numbers, they have the damage, and they will have themselves a Baron.
And what a performance so far by Misfits. 3,000 gold ahead, Baron in their pocket, Dragon up soon as well. We'll have another look at this fight, because it's just back and forth, and you can see as soon as Comp is slowed, here it goes in.
And we talked about positioning for Comp pretty much consistently throughout this game, but he ends up getting caught there. HiRit buys a lot of time with the stopwatch. I can't believe HiRit was actually able to get that secondary Q off, but that ultimate from Odo did a great job of buying time, stopping Vetheo from being able to follow up, but this is where we see the collapse of Rogue. Larssen steps up a little too close, and then Shlatan comes in from the flank. Malrang's flank is far too far away, and you can see Trymbi doing his best to try and give the movement speed bonus, but the slow from Shlatan's W is far too strong. That means that with the Ryze dead, it becomes a very one-sided affair. It's look, Neon just face-tanking Odoamne, he doesn't care.
And that's the weakness of a tank. If you're the last man standing, you just don't have the DPS. I've learned that enough in Lost Ark, and here we see Odoamne learning it on Summoner's Rift as well. Misfits now looking to take down the team that went undefeated in the first round robin, look to make it 2 in a row in terms of losses here for Rogue, and make it 2 in a row in terms of wins here for Misfits, rocketing themselves up the standings this weekend.
And so many positive things to say about this Misfits performance as well. Their early game is looking so much better. The way in which they're executing these team fights, the way they're playing around their win conditions, Misfits is looking very strong. And Vetheo, what a performance from him. With all the pressure that was thrown towards him, now we'll see another fight.
HiRit isn't here, HiRit isn't here. Does have the Hexagon made him with the Realm Warp onto the backline. Neon just cannot move. He is not allowed to play League of Legends. And what HiRit can do in the backline is not much at all. 2 kills over the Rogue as they look to fight back.
Oh my word, a classic cast a curse just as we start to sing the praises of Misfits as they're setting up for the final Drake. Rogue find themselves another fight, but Misfits have not given up yet.
Rogue missed, Larssen missed the overload there. Vetheo still has the shockwave. Shlatan rooted. Larssen on the chase. Shield. Crescent Guard gets them away. There's the shockwave, but they don't have the damage. Just can't quite peel through this skin of Rogue as they are unable to take them down, and it's a back and forth affair. Vedius, Rogue secure their second dragon of the game and keep Misfits away from that soul point, and we lauded Misfits for the Baron. We praised their play around it, but look at that Baron power play, Vedius. They have lost gold off this. You get 1.5 for taking the thing. They're down to only 500.
And all the credit needs to be given to the Rogue solo laners. Larssen and Odoamne played that fight beautifully. Odoamne finding that pick onto Neon. You highlighted it, Medic. Neon just could not move.
No way, no way.
Neon with the snipe! He gets the kill on the Larssen, and it's a big pick. Oh,
what in the ever-loving hell was that?
He saw him on the wave, and he just assumed that Larssen would go back in the brush, and he did. Beautiful snipe. The question is, what can Misfits get off the back of this? They only have 5 seconds left of the Baron. They have a wave up top. Maybe they can secure themselves a tier 2, but honestly, I don't think it's going to hurt Rogue that much.
I heckin' love Jinx.
I heckin' love Jinx.
What on earth was that? Misfits now sieging this top tier 2, and I've heard from our producers that we have a bit of fan interaction coming up because we want to know who you think is going to win this game. You can vote on Discord, Misfits or Rogue win. They're going to siege in here. It's 50-50 right now, apparently, but I'm not sure votes have actually started coming in yet. But, I mean, it could be 50-50. Looking at this game, Misfits unable to break in that inhibitor line yet. 2 minutes on the Baron, 3 minutes on the 6th dragon of the game. And what a game it has been, Vedi. Oh, no. You didn't have to do this.
The power pose from Jinx as well. I love it.
Larssen's been playing so well, observers. You didn't have to do this to him.
Look, he's just basing. He's just basing in his
That's what you
brush.
get for reading. Play games instead. I want to see me touching one of those books.
It's a pirate life for me.
You know a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
No, C.
I thought I got you, and then you hit me with the Uno reverse card. All right, let's have a look here. You can see Malrang, once again, looking for a potential pick. Oh man, this Misfits vision control continues to be as excellent as ever. So much control over the top side of the map, sets them up beautifully for the Baron, spawning in about 2 minutes' time. Of course, they will need to reset, replenish those control wards. You can see Shlatan going to go back to base now, make sure that he can grab one. How can we have a look at the gold very quickly? I want to see how close Neon... Okay, he's still a little bit off that Infinity Edge. He will need a little bit more. He shouldn't be able to get it off this wave, but you can see he's going to try and take every bit of farm that he can. And he's looking for... He's like, Raptors, are they up? No? Okay, that bot scuttle. He's pinging the Krugs right now. This is what AD carries do, and they're like, I need just a little bit more gold. It's all about making sure that you can get that spike. And it's super important with the Baron spawning in about a minute's time. You're going to want to make sure that you get that item. Thank you, observers, for highlighting. This should just give him enough.
Well, it's 3,400. He already has a
30.
BF sword, which is 1,300, and the pickaxe, which is 875.
Yeah, it's about 1225,
yeah, it should be around there.
I think.
It should be there.
1225.
1225 makes sense. Let's see. Vedi.
There you go. Well, I mean, he also based, so he obviously knew that.
Well, yeah, but like, you know, I'm the doctor, you're the mathematician, apparently. So.
Well, yeah, I know some item build numbers. but not all of them. Now, anyway, that's irrelevant. Point is, Baron spawns in about 30 minutes time. 30 minutes? 30 seconds time. It's an incredibly tense game. We talked so much about how both these teams need to play their team fights and how difficult it is for both sides to execute. HiRit, though, on the flank already.
HiRit trying to get onto the backline here, maybe trying to catch out Malrang. Gets away, still has the GA, Call of the Forge God. That's a big ultimate used by Odoamne with 50 seconds on the Drake and 7 seconds on the Baron. Now 64% of you at home say that you think Misfits are going to win this game. Do you still think so as Mersa has to flash away? Wild Goat used on Neon, Sonic Wave. Ooh. Oh, just that cat's a whisker away from connecting on Neon. Perhaps that will be the call for Misfits to gain control of this topside river. They are still very much in the lead here, Vedi.
Well, let's put it into context. That's Flash and Ghost used for Larssen. That is the ultimate gone for comp. Trymbi and Odoamne. All of the tools to start a fight have disappeared for Misfits, and Vetheo still has everything. Keep your eyes on this Orianna as Rogue approach the Baron.
Comp steps in, so does Neon. Flash forward by Shlatan, he knocks Malrang back. Secured, Vetheo takes the Baron. Malrang has to flash away, and now Neon starting to get a little excited, starting to get a little frisky, but you can't step in to the fog of war as the Realm Warp gets Ryze and Rogue away. Will they just start up this Dragon straight away? There's no vision control down towards this bottom side for Misfits, but they continue to advance into the fog of war, into the darkness, into Rogue. Malrang trying to burst it down, does have the smite, but HiRit dives onto the backline. Neon trying to get away from Odoamne. The Dragon down to 300. Larssen hit with a shockwave. He will kill off Mersa, but he pops a stopwatch just before he goes down. The Dragon no longer the target for Misfits. They're hungry for blood, and Rogue are providing it. 2 more for Neon. A third goes over to HiRit, and Neon on the chase wants to make it lucky number 3. Misfits clean up the fight.
It is an ace for Misfits as they dance around the Baron beautifully. They chase Rogue into the river, and they will add another loss onto Rogue's scoreboard. And Misfits get ever closer to the top of the table, and the LEC continues to get spicier as we are looking to end the first week 5.
We are looking to end the first week 5, the only week 5. Yes. Misfits, what a performance by them. They held Rogue at bay in the early game, and then scaling and scaling and scaling, they made like a crocodile and scaled all the way to the win.
In a minute.
They're still scaling, Benny. Gotta pad those CS numbers. Ugh.
Great game from Misfits. Really, really well played from start to finish. Huge props to them. What I think is really interesting about this team is we saw a lot of roster changes at the beginning of the split. Obviously, there was a lot of discussion and contention, but what we saw last year was that in spring, it was about growth, evolution, development, and then in summer, it's really where this roster sort of popped off. Already, though, I think we're seeing a lot of the core strengths that they had built up last split already being implemented now. And while the addition of Shlatan did change the playstyle of this team, he is now fitting much more comfortably into how this team wants to execute and play. And I think they're doing a fantastic job of it. Misfits continue to fight for those top spots. And I need to use fewer words when speaking.
Look, in the first week 5 of spring, we continue to see upsets. You can vote for your key player of the games at LEC on Twitter. Vetheo, Neon, and Mersa are your options. But you just look at it. XL beat Vitality. Astralis beat Rogue. G2 beat Mad, not so much an upset, but XL winning against BDS, again, not so much. SK beating Mad, like, Misfits beating Rogue.
Misfits is hot on the heels now of G2 and Fnatic. If either of them drop a game, I mean, of course, G2 is going to be going up against future world champions Astralis next, you know what I mean? So we'll see how things play out.
It's a tough game. Misfits take down Rogue and secure themselves their first 2-0 week of spring. After the break, we'll hear from Neon on this important victory.